The following program is intended for mature audiences.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Which one of you guys is going to be the fall guy for the show?
What the fuck is wrong with Chris Carter?
That's a good question.
I expect that from Warren Sapp, because he's kind of a terrible person.
But either way, this isn't shit you should be telling rookies.
No, but...
Be accountable for yourself. Don't get into trouble at all.
I agree, but I'm just saying I would have expected this level of idiocy from Sapp, not Chris Carter. I kind of held him in higher regard.
Chris Carter wearing his Hall of Fame jacket at the time.
Yeah.
This is what he said to the young, impressionable rookies.
And just in case y'all not going to decide to do the right thing, if y'all got a crew, you got to have a fall guy in the crew. Now, I let my homeboys know. Y'all want to keep rolling like this? Then I need to know who going to be the fall guy, who going to be driving, because y'all not going to all do the right stuff now, all right? So I got to teach y'all how to get around all this stuff, too. If you going to have a crew, one of them fools got to know he going to jail. If you going to have a crew, make sure you know who going to be the fall guy, okay? Make sure they understand can't nothing happen to you. Your name can't be in lights under no circumstances. All right? Y'all understand that?
Jim Caldwell defended him.
Well, so did Dan Patrick, which just aggravated me to no end, because Dan Patrick's like, I can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to do a good thing.
No, he wasn't.
It's not a good thing.
I was yelling at my radio in my car. I'm going, no, he wasn't trying to do a good thing. He was saying something because he thought no one would ever hear him say it. He was being honest. He was telling the truth in front of people because he didn't think for a second that it would ever get released for public consumption.
I'm sure this is something that the players talk about all the time. Like, no, I'm going to pin it on my dude or whoever.
I don't know how you could defend what Chris Carter said there.
You can't. It was absolutely terrible. I don't know why he's still employed at ESPN.
He put out an apology. I got a notification from the ESPN app. It's
Chris Carter apologizes.
Yeah, it was like NFL video. Chris Carter apologizes. Like, come on, ESPN.
It's absolutely mind-boggling that he's still employed.
Adrian Peterson should have had a fall guy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should have a fall guy, right?
Ray Rice had a fall girl.
Oh. Speaking of her, did you hear when she was interviewed a couple weeks ago and they asked her, what do you think when people say your husband's a wife beater? She said, it pisses me off. I mean, why?
I think at this point she legitimately believes that nothing bad actually happened.
See, but here's the thing. I mean, I would almost believe that could have been the very first time something like that ever happened, except that he acted like it was no big deal. I'm sorry, but if I accidentally knock somebody out, I'm not just going to step over them and go, oh, well, and drag them out of the elevator. But back to Carter, he says, I really regret my words. No, you don't. If you regretted it, you would have said something the next day like, hey, you know what? I said this at the rookie symposium, and I shouldn't have, and I regret my words. A year later, now that you're caught, now you regret it. I mean, give me a fucking break. But I just wondered, like, if one of us gets in trouble, would one of the other two be the fall guy?
Oh, Andy's the fall guy.
Yeah, Andy's the fall guy. Shit, there you go.
Exactly, because he's, like, never around, so we could concoct all the schemes here. Right. And he's perfect.
Poor Bass is going to be sitting at home one day, and the police are going to knock on his door, and he'll have no idea why. I'd be like, what?
We found 200 pounds of cocaine in your possession. What?
What are we doing moving 200 pounds of cocaine?
I was just holding it for a friend. That friend might be named Mike Richards.
God, 200 pounds of cocaine's got to be worth, I got to think, quite a bit of money, right?
Probably.
I don't know the going rate of cocaine, but I would imagine it's a lot.
Nor do I, but I'm thinking a couple $100 is probably worth $1 or $2.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, while we're on the topic of ESPN employees, by the way.
I think you've probably got the next thing on my list here. Go ahead.
Well, I have a few things about ESPN employees this week. Because we just talked about Chris Carter. Did you hear about Kurt Schilling?
Oh, the tweet?
He was supposed to be on the Little League World Series coverage.
Right.
You don't want him. No, that's a bad place for Kurt. I like Kurt Schilling because, like, as a baseball player, I like Kurt Schilling, but there are certain places you don't bring him.
Yeah.
Well, it's a place of children, generally.
First off, before we go into Kurt Schilling, the Little League World Series, I hate it.
Why is it on? Why is it even a thing?
SportsCenter had a 20-minute interview with a Little League World Series team.
Yeah.
While the Little League World Series game was going on, I had no alternative programming.
How do you,
Little League World Series or talking to 12-year-olds.
how do you stretch an interview with a 12-year-old to 20 minutes?
Because you had 20 of them and 2 coaches.
God.
Well, okay.
Every time I see it on the...
Hey, Jimmy, what's your favorite Power Ranger? There you go.
If that is what's on TV, I just refuse to watch it. I turn off my TV and go do something else.
Well, let me ask you, do you hate it because it's overexposed, or do you hate it because it's kind of exploiting 12-year-olds, or both?
Both. We shouldn't be glorifying 12-year-olds. I'm sorry. Like, show the U.S. and international championship games, fine, great. I don't need to see every single... And, like, if you're going to televise it, don't put it on main ESPN on, like, prime hours of
Aren't
TV.
there, like, 6 ESPN channels? Put it on one of the ones that's, like, online only.
If it was on ESPN2 all the time, fine. Where you show a couple games, but every single game on every ESPN platform, no thank you.
I'm already kind of uncomfortable with my country's obsession with watching 16-year-olds play hockey. That's pretty skeevy, but it's sort of like, it's Canada and hockey, so whatever. But no, 12? No.
I think with the Little League World Series, and this is going way back to when I was a kid and played in Little League, they would show the championship game on ABC.
Sure.
And that was it. And I thought that was really cool because that was a neat little reward for making it all the way to the Little League World Series. But when you start showing, like, qualifying rounds that are being played in, El Segundo or Toledo or somewhere like that, that's just too much,
No, Greg, the Southern California ones are held out in San Bernardino.
Okay, but or like if they're showing like the Canadian semifinals from Kitchener or whatever, I mean that's just too much. That's just we don't need to see that. I get that it gives a lot of kids a chance to be on TV and get to watch themselves on ESPN and all that, but like Mike said, it's just kind of like they're 12, and we need to just kind of back off and let them be little leaguers. There was something I saw on Facebook about something horrible that the adults did with the Little League thing. I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
Adults overreacted at a children's sports game? No.
Yeah.
Well, because we're talking about the Little League World Series, Kurt Schilling was supposed to be doing the game because he was doing baseball tonight or Sunday Night Baseball in Pittsburgh, and then they were going to go over to Williamsport. Well, he got pulled off of it because he decided apparently – Kurt Schilling loves himself some political memes.
Oh, yeah.
His Facebook page is famous for them. And this is the one he put out.
Kurt Schilling is everyone's uncle who won't shut up about his political viewpoint.
Kurt Schilling's tweet the other day, the math is staggering when you look at the true numbers. And numbers is a #S.
God.
Or as the kids might know it, a hashtag.
Oh, God damn it.
It is only 5 to 10% of Muslims are extremists. In 1940, only 7% of Germans were Nazis. How'd that go?
Yeah.
He didn't even start off slow. He didn't even build up to the Nazi thing. He didn't even build up to he just dropped the Nazi bomb right from the get-go.
He dove right in, both feet, yeah.
If there's one thing arguing on the internet should teach anyone, it's that once you drop that H-bomb, the Hitler bomb, there's no going back.
Well, and Deadspin decided to do a little more research and just go to his Facebook page. And just in the last 3 weeks, these are the memes that he's posted. He's old person on Facebook. Not you, Greg. But, old guy on Facebook that just posts things.
Oh, my God. This seems like something I'd see out of, like, Tank's feed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The great big
Yeah, you get things liberals are offended by, and then abortion and racism and the military and weird memes of guys on motorcycles in space
Well, that's the thing about Cecil the Lion. If he had been at the Benghazi consulate in September of 2012, I bet we'd have some solid answers about what happened there by now.
It's a bad Fox News comment section.
But the thing that drives me nuts about the Cecil the Lion thing, and because I think it was ridiculous. I think the guy that did it was an asshole and all that, is that, and this is a bigger picture, and speaking of old guys on Facebook, I posted something to this effect a couple weeks back. People automatically assume that if you are not on one extreme of an issue, you must be on the other extreme of that issue. And then they also assume that if you are outraged by Cecil the Lion, you can't possibly be outraged by anything else, meaning that if you think it was bad to kill Cecil the Lion, then you must be okay with what happened in Benghazi. I mean, it's just these connections that they make that make absolutely no sense.
I don't understand how that connection even, aside from the fact that they both happened in Africa.
What he's saying is basically that if people cared as much about politics as they do about animals, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in, which is just absolutely idiotic. It's a logical fallacy. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. But anyway, yeah.
Kurt Schilling is your racist, angry uncle who keeps sending you chain letters.
Well, wouldn't you think, though, that being Kurt Schilling, and maybe he doesn't care because I'm sure he's got plenty of money and all that, but wouldn't you think that he would think, I like this gig on ESPN. I like doing what I'm doing. Maybe I should back off with the
if I were him, I would
stuff.
If I were him, I would have at least backed off on this until you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Once you're in the Hall of Fame, just fuck everyone. Then you just let the crazy out. Oh, and then there's the comparing abortion to the Holocaust and slavery, because those are all three things that are totally the same. Oh, for fuck's sake.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to American political memes, Mike. These are the things that traverse Facebook every single day.
It's a goddamn miracle this country gets through a day.
What do you think of the new extra point, moving it back?
I don't know. What did it matter?
That's my thing.
I watched the Tampa Bay Cincinnati preseason game last night.
I almost texted you guys to tell you it happened. Cincinnati's playing Tampa Bay in the Ugly Bowl, but I thought, I'm sure they already know.
I was in Tampa last night. I watched that game live.
And the Bucs kicker missed one of the extra points.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. Like, at first I was like, he missed the extra point. And then I realized, oh, yeah, they moved it back.
I like John Gruden's rant following that, by the way.
Yeah, he's just like, don't change anything, basically, is what his rant was.
It's like, I liked the game the way it was, damn it!
Well, the extra point is a pretty much automatic yes, but was it really that big a deal? Did anybody really care that much?
We talked about this. The NFL just loves to form its own game. It loves to tweak things just because.
Just leave it alone. You have the most popular game on the planet. Sorry, soccer, but it's true.
Well, just the most popular game on our side of the planet.
The side of the planet that matters. But you've got the single most successful sports league in the history of the world. Just leave it alone. But I just thought John Gruden's rant was hilarious because at one point it included the line, just because it was automatic 99% of the time, that doesn't mean that 1% wasn't interesting.
Of all the things that needed to be fixed in the league, this was probably not any of them. The extra point. Did somebody complain? In all my life, before this rule change happened, I'd never heard anyone say, you know what, the extra point's boring. Or not boring, but it needs to be changed. I'd never heard an argument. It was just like nobody cared.
They just wanted to make it matter, I guess.
Wasn't that the idea behind this? To get people to go for two more often? Was that what the reasoning was behind it?
Well, that seems to be what they're pushing this preseason. They've really been pushing, the preseason is where, coaches experiment and.
No, they don't.
They've been talking about how, with this new rule in the preseason, we're going to see more coaches go for two.
See, I don't want scores 16-11. I want my normal NFL scores.
Exactly.
Yeah.
John Gruden was right. Why did
touchdown to 7 points.
Change anything?
Exactly.
Like if you're gonna do anything, you just get rid of the extra point altogether and make touchdowns worth 7.
Yeah, but I don't want to see scores that are weird, like 32 and just odd numbers that shouldn't be there. The preseason's great though. I mean, if you think about it, because I don't know, but around here, Johnny Manziel had a good, quarter or two.
Right.
Against a second-team defense, and he's the answer now. He's going to be something. Just wait and see. Okay.
Yep.
I will say, though, I got caught up in it, and Zach can attest to this, because my irrational confidence Titans beat the shit out of somebody the other night, and I was pretty fired up by it.
It was the Rams.
Oh, that's right, the Rams, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any loyalty in pro sports anymore?
No. Like,
in what regard?
Among fans, yes.
The Patriots signed Reggie Wayne this week.
Oh.
Reggie Wayne played his entire career with the Colts, 36. He got injured last year. I thought he was just going to be done, but apparently he worked out well enough, and the Patriots were, I think, the only team that even worked him out, and he signed with the Patriots.
You have a problem with that?
Yeah.
No,
it just feels so wrong in so many ways.
It's one of those cases where it's like, you don't have to, like, maybe, I don't want to speak for you, Zach, but just kind of like what I'm getting from you is kind of like, you don't have to stay a Colt for life, but did you have to go to the Patriots?
Yeah, like, if you wanted to hang on and play another year, okay, it's your prerogative to do that, Reg. But the Patriots, the team that every single year was, your big foe with you and Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, this is the team you decide to roll your career out with. And I understand maybe he probably wants to play for a title or something like that, but you don't think that maybe you could have teamed up with your old buddy Peyton in Denver? Well, they could probably use an extra wide receiver.
You brought it up yourself, though. I mean, if the Patriots were the only team that were interested in him, then what choice does he have? I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective of Reggie Wayne, whereas if it's like, okay, I could pick up another couple $1 million playing, and the only team that wants me is the Patriots. Yeah, I say go. I mean, if I were a Colts fan, I don't think I'd care for it, but it's like Seinfeld said, we root for the laundry, man. The players mean very little these days because they just don't stick around.
Especially now. Like, this coupled with a couple other things, like Corey Perry got married a week or two ago. And you know who was at the wedding, was an invited guest? Drew Doughty.
Ooh. Wow.
But they're teammates on Team Canada. They're friends, they're buddies, Well,
the
team, like the fans may hate each other, but
right.
The players themselves, like, we're all just trying to make a living, I guess.
I think it's very rare for the actual athletes to get as involved in a rivalry as the fans do. I mean, it does happen, but I don't think it happens nearly as much as we'd like to think it does.
There are 20 cities with 2 or more major pro sports teams.
Sorry about that. It used to be that teams would go along with it. Like, I mean, you hear the stories about how the Yankees and the Red Sox would never, like, back in the 60s, they never talked to each other.
Right.
Or how, in the 80s, the Yankees and the Royals, like, legitimately hated each other.
Yes.
So, but you just don't see that anymore. We've talked about before where everyone's friend these days.
Yeah.
Well, the thing, I mean, a big part of it obviously was free agency where teams, players bounced around a lot and all that.
Well, the players had to unionize and fight for themselves. Yeah.
I mean, it was easier in the 70s to have a hardcore rivalry like, Browns Steelers was a big one. Because they played on the Steelers guys played on that team until they retired. And the Browns guys, the ones that stuck around long enough, the same thing. Nowadays, I mean, I remember, who was it? One of the Red Sox guys signed with the Yankees, like right after the 2004 World Series.
Ellsbury.
Was it Ellsbury? I was thinking of Johnny. Didn't Johnny Damon go to the Yankees after one of the World Series wins? I mean, yeah. It's just, like I said, we want it to be a bigger deal than it is, but it's just not. And then you've got all the camps and stuff that players play in now when they're young.
Yeah.
Through high school and college and all, they get to know each other. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah. Like, I was trying to think if there's any pro sport rivalry where the teams actually hate each other. And I guess like a couple of years ago, you might have said Steelers Ravens.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I don't know how far back you want to go, but I got to think Colorado, Detroit back in the 90s.
And it's Chris Osgood, Patrick Waugh.
Well, I think some of the things to get the teams to actually hate each other, something has to actually happen in the course of the game. So, like with the Red Wings and Avalanche, you had Claude Lemieux, you had these incidents in the playoffs where it's like, I hate you, I hate that guy, and thus I hate your team. But if it's just a regular old rivalry like Ducks Kings, yeah, there's been some intense games, but there's nothing that I would say like that has actually happened where blood was spilled. And
I mean, even Jeff Carter,
guy, but it's like
even Jeff Carter is more or less on the level.
But I think you're right, though. You do need an incident of some sort to start it. And then usually that means there will be other incidents as we go along.
But even in like baseball where you see incidents happen all the time and then they'll go out the next day like, oh, hey, bud, what's up?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, whatever.
Do we even have anything even close to like Ravens Steelers? I can't think of anything.
I think that's faded. I think it's safe to say that's faded.
Jay Cutler versus the Bears fan base, maybe.
Jay Cutler versus the Bears.
That's a pretty good rivalry, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real good one.
I was going to say, remember when I called the Blue Jays are going to sweep your Angels?
Yeah. Set a team scoring record in the process.
That series over the weekend was the most pathetic thing I've seen.
What was the final, like...
They scored 36 runs. I don't know.
36-12 or something?
I don't know.
God.
The Angels are bad. They're 9-20 in their last 29.
Hey, you know what? We'll do you a solid. We'll take Mike Trout. And, he'll be on a good team.
I see this team, and it's like, you have Mike Trout.
But that's all.
You have Mike Trout, and you're blowing it.
You want to be the Edmonton Oilers who had Wayne Gretzky and then built a team around him. You don't want to be the Miami Dolphins who had Dan Marino and then never bothered to do anything else.
Well, but to be fair, the Dolphins were still good. They just didn't win anything.
Yeah, they were a perennial playoff team.
The Angels make the playoffs regularly, and they haven't.
I think Mike Trout's made the playoffs once.
Was that last season?
Yeah.
Wow, they're behind freaking Texas now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
They're behind. They're falling down the wild card standings. They have to climb over other teams now. Like, if the team doesn't shape up over the course of the rest of Mike Trout's contract, if they don't win anything between now and his free agency, he's going to be a Yankee.
Oh yeah.
And you're wasting Mike Trout.
Yeah.
You're wasting potentially a guy that has the potential to be the best baseball player of all time.
Yeah, I
has
agree.
That kind of potential.
You're absolutely
and
wasting.
Just going to throw it away because you want to throw money at Josh Hamilton, at Albert Pujols, at whatever, and then say, "Oh no, we'll get a couple starters off the scrap heap." And hey, look, they had a good season last year. Great. What happened to them this year? What happened to Matt Shoemaker, the guy that was a Rookie of the Year contender at age 29? He just got sent down to the minors.
I think that answers your question right there. If you're
Jared Weaver, he's done being Jared Weaver.
He wasn't, but even when he was Jared Weaver, he was good, but there were still issues there. I mean,
even Garrett Richards, who was hailed to be the next number one all-time guy for the pitching staff, he's a good pitcher. He's a very good pitcher. He's maybe a number 2, solid number 3, definitely.
I just think that Hamilton contract just tied them up, and I was okay with signing Pujols, and I think they've gotten what
I think Pujols has been fine.
Yeah, you got what you expected. You weren't going to get the prime of his career St. Louis Cardinal Albert Pujols, so you were still going to get a pretty good player.
Right.
And they got that.
But the rest of the team isn't hitting.
No.
Chris Iannetta is not a good catcher.
No, not really.
No. Cole Calhoun's been nice, but the bullpen's been patchwork, and the starting rotation's been patchwork. And yet, like I said, it worked out well last season because everybody was healthy and things all went right. And unfortunately, too, despite Mike Trout having another amazing season, he might not get the MVP because the Angels are being so bad. And it might just go to one Josh Donaldson of your Blue Jays.
Well, Josh Donaldson's having a hell of a season.
Yes.
I'm still weary of all this, but I'm feeling better about it.
Embrace the success.
The Blue Jays,
First place.
the Blue Jays have started selling playoff tickets.
Oh, Mike, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, you can tell Mike's got a little. He's been traumatized by these guys a little bit, I think. But I know the feeling.
The Angels are selling playoff tickets too, so let's not let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We're taking playoff deposits. If you're the season ticket holders, it's August, or I think they started asking for the end of July. It's the end of July, and they're already asking for deposits for playoff tickets for.
I don't know how it works with the Angels, but I know that with the Indians, that when you put your deposit down, you don't get it back if they don't make the playoffs. It goes towards your season tickets next year.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is fine if you plan on buying season tickets again next year.
The Blue Jays, speaking of my Blue Jays, 164 plus 164 run differential this season.
Yeah, which is better than the next two AL teams combined.
But I understand where you're coming from. I was a fan of the original Cleveland Browns back in the 80s, and I know what it feels like to go, yeah, okay, this is all great, but I've been here before.
Yeah.
And I know what's going to happen, you know?
Well, I've got a very low threshold. I just want to see them make the playoffs.
Oh, I think you're guaranteed of that pretty much at this point.
Once I see...
Yeah, at the very least, they will be the wild card team.
I just want to see them in the playoffs. Once that happens, okay, then we can start talking bigger things. But this is a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 1993. So
I don't want them to be a wild card team. I want them to win the division because that wild card game.
Oh, it's treacherous.
It's great when you're at this point in the season. You still got a lot of teams that are in contention to get there, but it's just too random.
Ask Oakland.
Yeah, really. Ask Oakland. But I mean,
ask Atlanta.
We talked about it last year that on any given day, the worst team in baseball can beat the best team, and you just don't know what's going to happen in a one-game playoff like that. So I want them to get there all the way. They're tied, flat-footed tie with the Yankees right now.
Yeah, but the Yankees are getting their ass kicked at the moment, so that's positive.
I was going to call them the Houston Oilers. These Houston Astros are legit.
Who would have? Oh God! Like I won't know what to do if the ALCS is like Royals Astros. Like what the fuck is that?
How about Blue Jays Astros?
At this point, you're going to have the Astros, Royals, and Blue Jays all in the same playoff field.
Excellent.
And then on the other side, you're going to have the Mets and the Cubs,
Pirates.
And
no, you'll still have the Cardinals. Let's not kid ourselves. The
wild card game right now would be Pirates Cubs.
Cubs are having a pretty good season. They're 21 games over 500. I had no idea.
They lose to the Cardinals in the playoffs and people commit suicide on the show.
I don't know if we want that. Then again, we might need the ratings. Who knows?
Well, you know what the deceased Rowdy Roddy Piper once said, if you're going to kill yourself, do it on air. It'll get better ratings.
Well, see, there you go. That's a good philosophy. Anyway, I think the Jays are going to be fine, Mike. I think you're definitely in the playoffs. I would love to see them win this division. I just don't understand how this Yankees team is hanging on like this. They're old. I just don't get it.
God damn it. I thought they would have started falling away by now because they're all over like 40.
And the Kansas City Royals, geez, I mean, they're just,
No, it's not even fair in that division.
Not really, no. Oh, look at the Indians bringing up the rear. There you go.
So Deadspin's trying to figure out who has the cushiest job as an NFL starting quarterback. They didn't pick a winner, so we can. They've given us some candidates here.
It's Matt Flynn. It's got to be Matt Flynn.
Without question.
Well, this is why they brought it up, because Matt Flynn just got signed by the New York Jets.
Tons of money, supermodel wife, and now he gets to live in New York.
But with the Jets, he might have to play. He just might have to play, because who's in front of him? Ryan Fitzmagic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to end up playing. Sorry.
So Matt Flynn has played, 4.5 years with the Packers. Or actually,
where did he start? Was it with the Packers?
Well, he started with the Packers. He played 4 years with the Packers. Then signed that deal with the Seahawks.
Right.
Where he got
after one game.
Where he got usurped by Russell Wilson.
God's favorite quarterback.
Exactly.
So then he spent a year there and then went to Oakland. Got a decent amount of cash to play for Oakland. And then halfway through the season got traded back to the Packers, who then at some point he signed with the Bills late in the season. Then in 2014 he signed with the Packers again. And now in 2015 he signed with the Patriots, got released, and now is signed with the Jets. So 7 full seasons, he's going to go into his 8th year, and he's made $19.6 million.
That's it?
Yes.
I thought he got a big signing bonus when he signed with Seattle.
He got a $6 million signing bonus.
Oh, I thought it was a lot more than that. Okay.
No.
$19 million is still a lot, considering he's probably played less than 5 full games.
Yeah, but he's going to earn that shit this year, because believe me, he's going to play for the Jets.
No, see, if I were him, I would just keep the streak alive. You know, if they're like, Matt, we need you to play, I'd be like, guys, I have the Ebola.
I'd be like, hey, I'm only good for maybe 2 games a year. You sure you want to waste me on this one? That's what I would say. I can't think of any other. I mean, Matt Flynn is such the obvious choice, isn't he?
Well, he's going to be going to his 8th season, $19.6 million. Deadspin lists some pros and cons. The pro is that he got that big old contract from the Seahawks. Only had to throw 9 passes.
That's a pretty good job. That's a pretty good gig.
He'll always have a job somewhere because he had a couple good games, so people think he's competent. The cons, he couldn't even keep his first and only starting job.
Right.
He's moved around a lot of cold weather cities, and may actually have to play for the Jets.
Yeah, see?
But see, the thing is, though, about how he lost his one and only starting job, that should be a plus because it just keeps the streak alive. He didn't actually have to do anything.
Let's see. So the next candidate is Charlie Whitehurst.
Oh, that's a good choice. He's kind of a sleeper candidate, a guy you don't think about.
Last I heard of him, I remember he was a backup on the Chargers.
Yes.
I haven't heard
He's
of him
with the
since
Titans now, isn't he?
Right. He was a backup with the Chargers for 4 seasons, then 2 in Seattle, 2 more in San Diego, and he's going into his 2nd year with the Tennessee Titans. So it'll be 10 seasons total, and he's made, or will have made, $17.3 million.
You know what? I think I'm going to have to think about it. I think I got to give it to Charlie Whitehurst just because he hasn't had to do as much to get there.
Right. The pro for Charlie Whitehurst went more than 4 full calendar years without having to throw a meaningful football.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
Got a cool nickname for looking good while holding a clipboard. And made a surprising amount of money from the Seahawks. And he's gotten to live in San Diego, Seattle, and Nashville.
Seattle's not terribly bright when it comes to quarterbacks, are they?
Yeah, what the hell is up with Seattle?
The one con against him is while he was in Seattle, he was the guy who lost a quarterback competition to Tavares Jackson.
Okay, that hurts. But that makes him the perfect backup, right?
Again, though, that plays into him having a cushy job. Yeah, he lost to Tavares Jackson. That just means he didn't have to do any work, and he still got paid.
Right. I think he did it on purpose. I think he did because come on.
If I were one of these guys who's like right on the edge between being, good enough to be a starter or good enough to be a backup, like if I was right on that border, once I get my signing bonus, once I've signed that contract, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I flub a few passes at camp.
Right.
Again, I don't know if it was between the Matt Flynn life or the Charlie Whitehurst life. I might go with Charlie Whitehurst right now.
Right.
Based on those 2 resumes.
4 years. 4 years. Never took a hit. Not one.
4 years. Didn't actually have to do his job for 4 years.
Just had to hang out in San Diego for 4 years.
Right. Yeah. I'm going with Charlie Whitehurst. I mean, Matt Flynn, the obvious choice, but when you look at it, it's got to be Charlie Whitehurst.
Wouldn't either of us, any one of us, do our go 4 years without actually doing what our designated, what our jobs are and still get paid?
Yeah, better believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played 9 seasons, has only played in 20 games.
Yeah, I think Charlie. Who else? What have we got? Any other candidates? Because these 2 are going to be tough to beat.
The last one is Jim Sorgi.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to take that back. Let's talk about Sorgi. Go ahead.
Now, Jim Sorgi, if you don't know, he was the Peyton Manning backup for a long time.
And we all saw how that ended when...
Right. Well, he had 6 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts. And then he rounded out with 1 final year with the New York Giants. So he spent his entire career backing up Manning's.
Okay.
Basically. In those 7 total seasons in the NFL, he only made $5.1 million.
Oh, that hurts him.
So the pros got to chill in one place for the most of his career. Literally never had to start a game, not once. But he still got a Super Bowl ring out of the thing.
Oh, wait a minute. That's something to consider, yeah.
And is probably friends with both the Manning brothers.
Yeah.
The cons, he was trapped in Indianapolis, got kicked to the curb for Curtis Painter, and got hurt one time. Which he did.
Curtis Painter, I'm convinced, was some long-haired hippie that they found out behind a
He was the fall guy. He was the fall guy. Hey, we need to suck for a full year. Curtis, come play.
I think, okay, usually you gotta take into consideration with Sorgi, okay? How much sway does the Super Bowl ring have?
It's a pretty good perk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in a different direction. Only $5 million, but he spent most of that time in Indianapolis, where I'm thinking the cost of living isn't quite as high as it is in other places.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good point.
So yeah, only $5 million, but I'm pretty sure you could live a pretty comfortable life on $5 million in Indianapolis.
In 6 seasons with the Colts, as I said, he never started a game in his entire career. But in 6 seasons with the Colts, he only threw 156 passes. And in 2 of those years, he didn't throw any.
I don't know, though. The Charlie Whitehurst, 4 years without even playing, that's pretty impressive.
From these 3 with the full resumes they produced, I gotta say Charlie Whitehurst.
Overall, I have to agree, yeah. Now, Sorgi has a Super Bowl ring, which makes him a better contender than you would think.
Here's the way it breaks down, basically, is Matt Flynn has the money, Charlie Whitehurst has the longevity and the locations, and Jim Sorgi has a Super Bowl ring.
Right. I gotta say, I think Flynn had to play more. Sorgi didn't make enough money, but Mike's got a good point in the cost of living thing. But I think the overall package, it's got to be Charlie Whitehurst.
Yeah, Charlie because Charlie Whitehurst, he and Flynn have around the same amount of money.
Right.
And Whitehurst wins out on the locations.
Well, wait a minute, though. Wasn't Flynn Aaron Rodgers' backup when they beat the Steelers in Super Bowl, whatever it was? Or was he gone by then?
What year did they win the Super Bowl?
I want to say 2010.
I'm gonna confirm that just a second. Load, damn it.
Because I think I bought my shares in 2011.
Bandwagoner, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that it was when they offered it, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure it was 20? Maybe it was 20.
Or was it 09? Or was it 09? No, that was the Steelers.
It was 2010. It was 2010.
Right.
They won the Super Bowl in 2010, then he has a Super Bowl ring also.
Oh, wow, that's different. I still got to go with Whitehurst. I think Whitehurst has had the easiest path for the most money. I think you're bang for the buck, you got to go with Charlie Whitehurst, right?
Yeah.
Had to do the least for the most money.
You see that guy on the sideline, he just looks happy.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out.
That's because he still knows who he is. He can remember his name, which is, in the NFL, that's worth more than you think.
Yeah. The honorable mentions are Gary Kubiak.
Yeah, I could see that.
Gail Gilbert.
Now, there's a guy. I want to say he played. Wasn't he the backup quarterback on those 4 straight Bills Super Bowl teams?
They don't.
And then you know what? He was. I remember because this is one of the trivia things way back when on the boards. He played I shouldn't say played, and he was part of 5 straight Super Bowl teams because he went with the 4 Bills teams and then was the Chargers, Stan Humphries backup for the Chargers the year they made it. So 5 AFC championship rings. Woo! I don't know what that means, but the money wasn't as good for sure. I guarantee you that.
Frank Reich. He led that amazing comeback.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's what he got on his resume.
That's what he did something. I see. That's the thing.
Yeah, you don't want.
That's the only thing he did.
Yeah, but
I don't think he played other than that.
No, he started the following week for the Bills.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well,
because that was the thing. Was that the year they lost to the Raiders, I think, in the AFC Championship? I don't remember, but no, they went to the Super Bowl again, so Kelly must have been back. Never mind. I'm sticking with Whitehurst. I think you got to put all the package together, and Whitehurst made damn near as much as.
Doug Pederson?
No, Doug Peterson, no. He's no.
Seneca Wallace?
No, wasn't around long enough. Cool
Tim
name.
Hasselbeck?
Yeah. He's still playing, isn't he?
Tim Hasselbeck.
Right, I know. Yeah, I know.
David Carr?
No, Carr was a starter and got his brains beat out for a season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is very, very true.
Yeah.
They asked for some in the comments, so I'm going to scroll the comments here for a second. Somebody jokes Drew Bledsoe, haha. Don Strock and David Woodley.
Both of those guys started a lot. I mean, I don't know about a lot, but like the Dolphins went to the Super Bowl at 81 and they both played.
Wasn't that Bob Greasy though?
No, Bob Greasy was the 70s.
Bob Greasy was 72.
Yeah, that Strzok and Woodley were like the quarterbacks for the 81 Super Bowl team, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were the guys before Marino showed up.
Josh Johnson.
Never heard of him.
He started in the NFL. Remember, he was the tall quarterback from Kansas State that the Buccaneers drafted?
Yeah, Josh Johnson, was he the guy who
He's still in the league.
No, okay, yeah, okay. I was confusing him with Rob Johnson, the guy that they replaced Doug Flutie with in Buffalo.
Yeah,
no, he's recent, and like he got cut by the Bucs mid-season last year, signed with Minnesota.
He hasn't been around long enough.
He's been in this is his 8th season.
Okay. You've never even heard of him. Maybe that's a good point, though. How much money has he made?
Probably a lot.
Well, all right. I'm sticking with Charlie Whitehurst.
Billy Bullock.
Yeah.
Oh, Billy Bullock. That could be a good one.
He was with the Chargers for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Garrett.
Billy Bullock, Charlie Whitehurst, and Cleo Lemon are the three names that pop into my mind when I think Chargers backup.
Cleo Lemon, wow.
Yeah.
That's a name you haven't heard in a while.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with Whitehurst. I just think you got to put the money in there, too, at some point.
Greg, how about, do you know David Hum?
I do, as a matter of fact. I can't
Backed
tell
up
you.
Kenny Stablers for 5 years, Jim Kelly for Burt Jones for 2.
Yeah.
And then Plunkett for 2 in Oakland. 10 seasons, 137 passes, 2 Super Bowl rings.
How much money, though? You got to convert it into today's dollars, too, though. But the contracts weren't as high back then. I remember David Hum. Wasn't he left-handed?
I don't
know if you can look that up or not, but I'm pretty sure he was. No, Stabler was left-handed. Never mind. I'm thinking.
Charlie Batch?
Oh, yeah. Remember him?
No, Charlie Batch started.
Yeah, he did. Right.
I think he's still in the league.
Charlie Batch is still in the league?
No, he is not.
He's like my age.
I really think he's still in the league.
Wow, good for him. If he's still in the league, he's got my vote.
Hold on, I'm going to look this up. Charlie, because I thought I just saw a thing.
God,
he's a former. I think he was in the league last year. I'm pretty damn sure of that.
Wow.
Hold on. Let me see. Professional career. Oh no, his career ended in 2013.
Still. How long did he play?
15 seasons.
Yeah, I knew he'd been around a while.
Drafted in 1998.
Did it say where he went to college? It wasn't Iowa, was it?
Eastern Michigan.
Eastern, okay. Well, it shows you what I remember.
Greg, you should know him. He was first team All-MAC in 1995.
Yeah. I was living in Syracuse then. I didn't know much about the MAC.
Oh.
I had to follow the ridiculous.
You were watching some sweet Tuesday night Maction?
I don't think they were doing that back then.
Maction?
Yeah.
God.
That's how I get to watch my Toledo Rockets. They play on Tuesdays so they can get on television.
By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, Greg, Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, starting with the Texans.
He's the starter.
He won the job.
I am not afraid of you anymore, Houston. I will fear for my life whenever J.J. Watt's on the field, but otherwise.
Remember about like 3
your
weeks?
Offense is going to be funny to watch.
Like 3 weeks ago when the Texans were actually a Super Bowl contender for a season or two there, and then wow, look at them now.
I'm serious. They should have let J.J. Watt try out for the QB position.
It couldn't be any worse. Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs. Zach's Tabs!
You guys have heard of Old Dominion University, I'm sure.
Yeah, home of the Dominioneers.
I think they're the Lions? Anyway, it was freshman move-in day. So a fraternity decided to have a little fun. They hang some signs off their...
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Off their balconies.
Oh, boy.
They're, promoting themselves, saying that they're rowdy and fun. Hope your baby girl is ready for a good time.
Oh, boy.
And then they point to the front door and say, freshman daughter drop off. Go ahead and drop off mom, too.
Ah. Classy bunch, those frat boys.
So, of course, the university had to respond. And,
I like the headline. Frat boys designate house, freshman daughters drop off. Helpfully offer to fuck moms, too. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. In Boston, police had to make an arrest for an apparent gun threat against the World Championships for the Pokemon trading card game?
Wow, really?
Wait a minute. Is the Pokemon trading card game still a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it is not only a
2015?
thing. It's not only a thing, but people are bringing guns to it. That's how serious this shit is.
In 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Greg. Or yes, Mike.
You don't bust a cap off of somebody unless you were damn serious about it.
Two men who drove from Iowa to Boston for the Pokemon World Championships were arrested Friday after seemingly threatening violence over social media against attendees of the event. Kevin Norton, 18, and James Stumbo, 27, were arrested on several firearm-related charges. The official Pokemon site lists Kevin Norton and James Stumbo, both from the United States, as invitees for the Masters division of the World Championships.
Call me ignorant here. I didn't know it was still a thing. I thought it died.
Magic the Gathering is still a thing, Mike.
I still enjoy the video games, but I thought the card games had just gone away.
No, they're just deep underground now. The Pokemon hype has died, but not Pokemon itself. You see.
No, the game still goes.
I'm trying. There's a
Gotta
joke there
catch
somewhere, and
him.
again, I can't get my bat off the shoulder. All right, go ahead.
A bunch of scientists that were studying the DNA of octopuses have determined that octopuses are basically aliens. Their DNA is not connected to almost any other species on the entire planet.
So why were there people studying octopus? Like, okay, like I understand it's science. There's people studying everything, but why? What's the practical purpose?
Are you asking which guy woke up one day and said, I wonder about octopus DNA?
Pretty much, yeah. I want to know what I want to know what journey of discovery led him to that.
See, you're finally catching on. This is the stuff I always think about when I see these things.
Where do they rank in terms of like sea life?
Different. They're different from all other mollusks in their protein structure, I guess.
So even different from squids, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. And because they have the 8 prehensile arms, a large brain, and problem-solving abilities. Yeah.
I think they're pretty impressive. Have you ever watched them change colors and stuff underwater?
No.
That's pretty amazing.
They kind of freak me out. I kind of don't look at them any longer than I ever have to.
Yeah, that's true. Have you seen that new Geico commercial where the big giant one comes out of the water hazard?
Yeah, the Kraken.
That's a pretty cool commercial. That's the extent of my knowledge on octopi.
Octopi. This is just kind of a cool picture I found. Along the Mexican-American border, there were some people just on either side of the fence, and they decided, let's use the fence as a volleyball net.
Who won?
I don't know. But you could consider it an act of war if they spiked the ball onto one side of
That's a good point.
the land or the other, right?
I think that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, it shows good relations.
Right. But I want to go back to science for a second because Mike and I were talking about the thought process. I've always wondered, and maybe this is just me, have you ever sat down and thought about like who the first person was that looked at a horse and thought, you know what, I can make transportation out of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I brought it up the other day because we went to a steakhouse.
Okay.
And it got a steak, and we were talking like they didn't cook them like exactly the way we wanted them to, but then like it got to a conversation of who, for the longest time before we had fire, we were just eating raw meat, right?
Yeah.
And even when we had fire, at what point did somebody determine, wait, we can take the meat and cook it,
right?
And it'll be healthier and more delicious.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody talks about the freaking Wright brothers, okay, and how, blah, blah, this and that. No, the guy that impresses me is the guy that looked at a horse and said, I can ride that. And you know that he had to get his ass kicked numerous times by that horse before
he had to catch the horse.
He had to catch it and then ride it. Yeah, that's a seminal moment in human history, and no one ever talks about it.
What went through the mind of the first guy who saw something that came out of a chicken's ass and said,
right,
that?
See?
Right. Yeah, you got eggs and then cook the eggs.
You got 2 freaking history channels, and all they talk about are Nazis and people living out in the woods. I'm talking about aliens. This is important historical stuff that no one looks at.
All this could be explained by what you just said.
Aliens? Yeah, but aliens didn't come down and go, hey, maybe they did. Maybe the aliens like, this is going to be funny. Watch. Hey, dude, go try to ride that horse. And then they all sat back and watched them get the shit kicked out of them by a horse. But, you're talking about the steaks. Okay. You had to think that we had to eat some horses and some other shit in there before we finally figured out and went, the cow meat's probably the best. Don't you think? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then we had to determine that you could cook the meat.
Right.
Or how to cook the meat.
Right. And who decided that, like, spices, how did that come about?
Yeah, like when they brought the meat home, did they leave it too close to the fire one day?
Well, someone probably tripped over and dropped it in the fire.
And then they would have to pull it out of the fire and then be like, oh wait,
This is pretty
good.
tasty, yeah.
Yeah.
And how many people had to die before they figured out, we probably need to preserve this shit somehow?
Yeah, that green stuff growing on
right.
not good.
But yeah, the egg, the whole bit. This is stuff that I just don't understand why there isn't more focus on this and less on Nazis and stuff on the History Channel, because to me,
everyone and the Nazis have been done to death. Everyone does Nazis,
but
everyone knows Nazis get ratings.
they probably tried to write a cow and maybe, I don't know, other animals, and they went, no, the horse seems to be best suited for this. It's just stuff that I just don't understand. It's like I said, seminal moments in human history that no one ever talks about. See, like you always say, Zach, you tune in for the sports, but you stay for the basically.
Exactly.
All right, so are we done?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, as you all are well aware, you can follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Go to our website, basicallyasportshow.com. We also have other programs in the Basically a Podcast Network universe, like Basically a Geek Show, that we should probably get an update on, Mike.
We had a giant 60th episode. It's actually 3 parts. Jack's getting that compiled. And then we've also got bonus content after that. So
bonus content?
Yes. Jack and I riff on a commercial from the 90s for the Atari Jaguar.
All right. I don't remember the Jaguar.
Greg,
oh, of course. I know. I was going to get to it, but go ahead.
You know what we have to start, that we should be recording next week?
Yes.
Basically a Football Show returns.
Season 3 of Basically a Football Show. And with that, we're going to call it a night.
Get ready for some football!
Football! NFL Sunday night!